I always heard people say family is your safe place, where love wraps around you like a warm blanket. That's a lie. A cruel, twisted lie. Because in my own home, behind the faded curtains of my childhood bedroom, with my stuffed bear on the pillow and crayon drawings taped to the wall, my brother did things to me that broke my soul. Things that made me question if I was even human. And my father? He'd raise his fist if I dared to speak, his voice booming. You're lying again, girl. Even as my body showed the truth. Now, at 72, sitting on my porch in the quiet of a Georgia evening, I'm ready to tell my story. My name is Emma Wilson, but you can call me Miss Emma. I was born in 1953 in a small town called Millhaven, Georgia, where secrets were buried deeper than the roots of the old oak trees. Back then, girls like me weren't allowed to have a voice. We were supposed to smile, obey, and keep quiet, no matter what. Today, with the sun setting behind my little house, I'm breaking that silence. This story isn't easy. It's the kind that makes your heart heavy, your stomach tight. But it needs to be told, because I know there are others out there, girls and women, feeling alone in their pain, thinking no one will believe them. If you're listening, tell me in the comments where you're from. I want to know if my words are reaching you, if they're touching hearts across America. Please give this video a like and subscribe to BraveHer Voices. Every like, every comment, gives me the strength to keep speaking, to keep shining light on what too many want to hide. I was 7 when I first felt something was wrong. It was a humid summer day, the kind where the air stuck to your skin. I was playing in the backyard, building a tiny fort with sticks, when I heard my father, Henry Wilson, yelling from the kitchen. Clara, stop babying that girl. Me and James run this house. James was my brother, 5 years older, with sharp blue eyes that seemed to see right through you. He was tall for his age, always smiling at the neighbors, who called him such a good boy. If only they knew. My father worked at the local sawmill, coming home with sawdust on his clothes and whiskey on his breath. He believed men were kings, and women were there to serve them. James was his pride, the son who could do no wrong. Me? I was just Emma, the girl he wished was a boy. Should have been another son, he'd mutter to his friends, pointing at me like I was a mistake. My mother, Clara, was a soft-spoken woman with tired eyes and hands rough from sewing clothes for the neighbors. She tried to shield me, but her fear of my father kept her quiet. Stay out of his way, Emma, she'd whisper when his voice got loud. It'll pass. Our house was small, just 3 rooms. A living room with a sagging couch, my parents' bedroom, and a cramped room I shared with James. When I was little, we got along. He'd teach me how to catch fireflies or skip stones in the creek behind our house. But as I got older, things changed. It started small, like the way his hand lingered on my arm when he hugged me, or the way he'd watch me when I changed into my nightgown. I was too young to understand, but it made my skin crawl. I'd catch him staring, those blue eyes cold and strange, and I'd pull my blanket tighter at night. My mother noticed sometimes. She'd come into our room and find James sitting too close to me. James, leave your sister alone, she'd say, her voice shaky. He'd laugh it off, saying he was just checking on her. My father thought it was sweet. Look at them, so close, he'd say, patting James on the back. I wanted to scream, but who would listen? By the time I was 9, the strangeness turned darker. It was Easter, and I wore a pink dress my mother had sewn, the fabric scratching my skin. The house was full of relatives, uncles, cousins, all laughing and eating. Everyone said I looked pretty, like a little lady. I smiled, shy but happy. But James didn't like it. I saw it in his eyes, a flash of anger as he crushed his cup in his hand. Later, when everyone was outside for the barbecue, he pulled me into the hallway. Think you're special, huh? He hissed. Showing off for everyone? I didn't understand. I was just eating my pie, staying quiet. You belong to me, Emma. Don't forget it. His words sent a chill through me. Belong to him? What did that mean? I was 9, and I didn't know what brothers were supposed to be like, but this felt wrong. I tried to tell my mother that night. Mama, James is acting funny, I said, my voice small. She was scrubbing dishes, her hands moving fast. She stopped, looked at me, and I saw fear in her eyes. It's nothing, honey. He's just protective. But the way she turned away, I knew she didn't believe her own words. That night, James came to my bed. It was the first time it happened. The house was quiet, the only sound the crickets outside. He sat on the edge of my mattress, his hand brushing my hair. "You're so pretty, Emma," he whispered. I froze, pretending to sleep, my heart pounding. I prayed he'd leave, but he didn't. His hand moved under the blanket, and I felt a pain I couldn't describe. I wanted to scream, but fear kept my mouth shut. If I told, my father would call me a liar. He'd hit me, or worse, hit my mother. So I stayed silent, biting my lip until it bled. The next morning, I could barely move. My mother saw me limping and asked, "What's wrong, Emma?" I lied, said I fell off the swing. She didn't push, but her eyes said she knew. She gave me a warm cloth to ease the pain, her hands shaking. We never spoke about it. It got worse after that. James found ways to catch me alone. In the bathroom, in the shed, even in the kitchen when my parents were out. "I forgot my shirt," he'd say, standing too close while I bathed. I started locking the door, but he'd pick it with a pin. My father blamed me for the broken locks, calling me careless. At night, James would wait until everyone was asleep. He'd whisper, "Don't tell, or I'll say you were sneaking out with boys. You know what Dad will do." I knew. I'd seen my father slap my mother for smiling at a neighbor. What would he do to me? So I stayed quiet, my soul shrinking with every night he came. I learned to escape in my mind, imagining I was a bird flying far away, anywhere but that bed. But the pain stayed sharp and heavy, like a stone in my chest. I tried to tell someone once. Mrs. Carter, our neighbor, was a kind woman who lived alone. She'd give me cookies and let me sit on her porch. One day, when I was 10, I was crying behind the church, and she found me. "Emma, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice soft. I almost told her. "James, he's not nice to me," I started. But then I thought of my father's fists, my mother's fear. I stopped. "It's just a fight with a friend," I mumbled. Mrs. Carter didn't believe me, but she didn't push. Years later, she'd apologize, saying she wished she'd done more. I forgave her. What could she have done in a town where family secrets were locked tight? By 12, I was a shadow of myself. I stopped eating much, my dresses hanging loose. At school, teachers asked if I was okay. I nodded, too scared to speak. James was the town's golden boy, helping neighbors, playing baseball, always polite. No one would believe me. My father and James were like twins, laughing together at the bar, while I was the burden, the girl who wasn't enough. "Emma's too quiet," my father would say, shaking his head. "Not like James." The weight of their words crushed me, but I held on, hoping one day I'd find a way out. Then came the summer I turned 13. My body was changing, curves forming, my first period coming like a shock. My mother gave me rags and said, "You're a woman now, Emma. Be careful." Careful of what? I was already hiding from James every chance I got. His visits got more frequent, his words uglier. "You're growing up nice," he'd say, his voice low. "But you're still mine." Mine. Like I was a thing he owned. I felt trapped, like a mouse in a cage, with nowhere to run. But something inside me was shifting. I wasn't just scared anymore. I was angry. I didn't know how yet, but I knew I had to fight back, even if it killed me. That summer I turned 13. The air in Millhaven felt heavier, like it was pressing down on my chest. My anger was new, a spark inside me, but I didn't know how to use it. James's shadow loomed larger every day, his blue eyes following me everywhere. When I washed dishes, when I hung laundry, when I tried to hide in the attic. I started keeping a pocket knife under my pillow, stolen from my father's toolbox. I never used it, but holding it made me feel less helpless. My mother noticed my silence. One morning, as we shelled peas on the porch, she grabbed my hand. "Emma, you're so quiet lately. What's wrong?" Her voice was soft, but her eyes were scared, like she already knew the answer. I wanted to tell her everything. How James came to my bed at night. How his hands left bruises I hid under long sleeves. But I remembered her trembling when my father yelled. "Nothing, Mama." I lied, snapping a pea pod. "Just tired." She squeezed my hand. "You'd tell me if something was bad, right?" I nodded, but my throat felt tight. I couldn't break her heart. Not yet. At school, I tried to escape. I'd stay late, pretending to help the teacher, Miss Linda, with cleaning chalkboards. She was young, with kind eyes. And once she caught me crying in the library. "Emma, you okay?" she asked, sitting beside me. I clutched my book, my fingers shaking. "Just a bad day," I mumbled. She tilted her head. "You can talk to me, you know. About anything." I almost broke then. The words were on my tongue. "James hurts me, he won't stop." But I saw my father's face in my mind, his belt swinging when I talked back. I saw James smirking, knowing no one would believe me. "Thanks, Miss Linda," I said, forcing a smile. "I'm fine." She didn't push, but she gave me a candy bar from her desk. "You're stronger than you think, Emma," she said. Those words stuck with me, like a seed planted in my heart. Home was a different story. James was bolder now, especially when my father was at the bar. One evening, I was in the kitchen, stirring soup, when he came up behind me. His breath was hot on my neck. "You're getting prettier every day," he whispered, his hand on my waist. I froze, the spoon slipping from my fingers. "Stop it, James," I said, my voice shaking but loud. He laughed low and mean. "Or what? You gonna tell Dad? He'll think you're chasing boys and beat you silly." I turned, glaring at him. "I'll scream." His eyes narrowed. "Go ahead. No one's here but us." My mother was at the neighbor's, borrowing sugar. My father was gone. I was alone with him. He stepped closer, and I grabbed the knife from the counter. "Back off," I hissed, holding it up. For a second, fear flashed in his eyes, but then he smirked. "You're not gonna do anything, Emma. You're too weak." He walked away, but my hands shook so bad I dropped the knife. I hated him, but I hated myself more for not being brave enough. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the pocket knife in my hand. James was asleep across the room, snoring softly. I thought about running away, but where would I go? We were miles from anywhere, and I had no money. I thought about telling Mrs. Carter, the neighbor who gave me cookies, but what if she told my father? The fear kept me trapped, but the anger kept growing. I started planning. I'd save pennies from my mother's sewing money, hide them in a tin under my bed. I'd listen at school for stories about girls who left home, girls who made it. There was a rumor about a girl who ran to Atlanta and got a job. Maybe I could do that. Maybe I could be free. A few weeks later, something happened that changed everything. It was a Sunday and we were at church. I was sitting in the back, trying to disappear, when James slid into the pew beside me. "You look nice today," he whispered, his hand brushing my leg under my skirt. I jerked away, my heart racing. "Don't," I said, loud enough that Mrs. Carter, sitting in front, turned to look. James smiled at her, all charm, and she smiled back. My stomach twisted. No one saw the truth. After church, as we walked home, my mother pulled me aside. "Emma, why were you so jumpy in church?" she asked, her voice low. My father and James were ahead, talking about baseball. I looked into her eyes, and for a moment, I thought I could tell her. "Mama, James, he's doing bad things," I started, my voice barely a whisper. Her face went pale. "What kind of things?" she asked, gripping my arm. But before I could answer, my father yelled, "Clara, Emma, hurry up." She let go of my arm, her eyes wide with fear. "We'll talk later," she whispered. But we didn't. That night, James came to my bed again. I was ready this time. When he reached for me, I pushed him hard. "Get away," I shouted, loud enough to wake the house. He grabbed my wrist, his grip tight. "Shut up, Emma, or you'll regret it," he hissed. But I kept struggling, kicking at him. My mother's footsteps came fast down the hall. She flung open the door, her face white. "What's going on?" she demanded. James let go of me, stepping back. "She's having a nightmare," he lied, smooth as ever. I was crying, my voice hoarse. "He's lying, Mama. He's hurting me." For a second, I thought she'd believe me. Her eyes flicked between us, her hands shaking. But then my father stormed in, his belt already off. "What's this noise about?" he roared. James spoke first. "Emma's making up stories again, Dad. Trying to get me in trouble." My father glared at me, his belt swinging. "You lying little girl," he said, stepping closer. I braced myself, but my mother stepped between us. "Henry, stop," she said, her voice trembling but firm. "She's just scared." He pushed her aside, and the belt came down on my arm, sharp and stinging. I screamed, and my mother started crying. James just watched, his eyes cold. The next morning, my arm was bruised, and my mother couldn't look at me. We sat at the breakfast table, silent. My father ate his eggs like nothing happened. James smirked across the table, passing me the salt. "You okay, sis?" he asked, his voice dripping with fake concern. I wanted to throw the salt in his face, but I just nodded. My mother kept her eyes on her plate. After breakfast, she pulled me into the backyard. "Emma, tell me the truth," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Is James touching you?" I nodded, tears falling. "He won't stop, Mama. Every night." Her face crumpled, and she hugged me tight. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I should have known." She promised to talk to my father, to make it stop. I wanted to believe her, but I saw the fear in her eyes. My father never listened to her. What would make this different? That afternoon, I hid in the attic, my tin of pennies in my hands. I'd saved $3, not enough to get to Atlanta, but it was a start. I heard my parents arguing downstairs. "She's lying, Clara," my father shouted. "James wouldn't do that." My mother's voice was softer, pleading. "Henry, she's not lying. I saw the bruises." The argument stopped when James walked in, his voice calm. "Dad, Emma's just confused. You know how girls get." My father laughed, like it was a joke. I sat in the attic, my heart sinking. My mother tried, but it wasn't enough. I knew then I had to save myself. I started planning for real, watching the bus schedule, counting my pennies, dreaming of a place where James couldn't find me. But I didn't know something worse was coming. Something that would make running away not just a dream, but my only choice. I sat in the attic, clutching my tin of pennies, my heart heavy with the argument I'd overheard. My mother tried to stand up for me, but my father's laughter and James's lies crushed her words. I was 13, trapped in a house where my voice didn't matter. The something worse came faster than I expected. It was late summer, the air thick with the smell of cut grass. I started feeling sick, my stomach churning every morning. At first, I thought it was fear, the weight of James's nightly visits making my body rebel. But then I missed my period. I didn't know much about being a woman yet, but I'd heard whispers at school about what that could mean. My hands shook as I hid in the bathroom, counting days on my fingers. It couldn't be true. It couldn't. But deep down I knew. I was pregnant. At 13. Because of James. I didn't tell anyone at first. I was too scared, too ashamed. I wore loose dresses, hoping no one would notice my body changing. But my mother's eyes were sharp. One evening, as I helped her fold laundry, she grabbed my arm. "Emma, you're pale. And your dress, it's tight around your middle." Her voice was low, her eyes searching mine. I looked away, my throat tight. "I'm fine, Mama," I said, pulling my arm free. "Just ate too much." She didn't let go. "Don't lie to me," she whispered. "What's happening to you?" I wanted to tell her, but the words stuck. If I said it out loud, it would be real. And if my father found out, he'd kill me. I saw it in my mind, his belt, his fists, his voice calling me a liar. So I shook my head. "Nothing's wrong," I said, my voice breaking. She stared at me, tears in her eyes, but she didn't push. "I'm here, Emma," she said softly. "When you're ready." I nodded, but I felt alone, like I was drowning and no one could see. School became my only escape, but even that wasn't safe. James was everywhere, watching me in the halls, his smile hiding the truth. One day, during lunch, I hid in the girls' bathroom, feeling sick again. My friend Sarah found me, her brown eyes wide with worry. "Emma, you look awful," she said, touching my forehead. "You sick?" I wanted to tell her, to spill everything. James, the pain, the secret growing inside me. But Sarah's father was friends with mine. If she told anyone, it would get back to my father. "Just a stomach bug," I lied, forcing a smile. She frowned. "You sure? You've been weird for weeks." I nodded, my heart racing. "I'm okay, Sarah. Promise." She hugged me, and for a moment I felt safe. But then the bell rang, and I saw James outside, leaning against the wall, his eyes locked on me. "Hurry up, sis," he called, his voice sweet but cold. Sarah didn't notice, but I felt his threat in my bones. That night, I couldn't hide anymore. I was in the kitchen, washing dishes, when my mother came in. She shut the door, her face pale. "Emma, I found your rags in the trash," she said, her voice shaking. "You haven't used them in months. Are you pregnant?" The word hit me like a slap. I dropped a plate, and it shattered on the floor. My hands shook as I knelt to pick up the pieces. "No, Mama," I lied, my voice barely a whisper. She knelt beside me, grabbing my hands. "Don't lie to me, Emma. I'm your mother." "I know." Tears streamed down my face. I couldn't hold it in anymore. "It's James," I sobbed. "He's been hurting me. For years. And now this." Her face crumpled, and she pulled me into her arms. "Oh, my baby," she cried, rocking me. "I failed you. I should have stopped him." We sat there, crying on the kitchen floor, the broken plate around us. For the first time, I felt like she saw me, really saw me. But the moment didn't last. My father came home, his boots loud on the porch. My mother wiped her tears and stood. "Stay quiet," she whispered. "I'll talk to him." I nodded, but my stomach twisted. She waited until James was out, helping a neighbor, then went to my father in the living room. I hid behind the door listening. "Henry, we need to talk about Emma," she said, her voice steady but scared. He grunted, sipping his whiskey. "What's she done now?" My mother took a deep breath. "She's pregnant. It's James." The room went silent. Then I heard a crash, his glass hitting the wall. "You're lying," he roared. "My son wouldn't touch her. She's been sneaking with some boy." My mother tried to speak. "Henry, listen, she's not lying." He cut her off. "Shut up, Clara. You're turning my daughter into a liar." I heard a slap, and my mother gasped. I ran to my room, my heart pounding. I knew what was coming. Minutes later, my father burst into my room, his belt in hand. "You little liar," he shouted, his face red. "Who's the boy? Tell me." I backed against the wall, shaking. "It's not a boy, Dad," I said, my voice small. "It's James." He froze, his eyes wide with rage. "Don't you dare say that about my son." The belt came down, hitting my shoulder, my back. I screamed, falling to the floor. My mother ran in, grabbing his arm. "Henry, stop. She's telling the truth." He pushed her hard, and she fell, hitting her head on the bed frame. Blood trickled down her face. "Mama," I cried, crawling to her. My father stood over us, breathing heavy. "Both of you lying about my boy," he said, his voice low. "You'll pay for this." He stormed out, slamming the door. My mother was dazed, blood on her cheek. I helped her sit up, tears streaming down my face. "I'm sorry, Mama," I said. "I didn't want this." She touched my face, her hand shaking. "It's not your fault, Emma," she said. "I should have protected you." We sat there, holding each other, as the house grew quiet. But then I heard James's voice outside, laughing with my father. My blood ran cold. They were planning something. I heard my father say, "Don't worry, son. I'll handle it." Handle it? Handle me? My mother heard it too. She grabbed my hand. "Emma, you can't stay here," she whispered. "He'll hurt you worse now. Maybe both of us." I nodded, my mind racing. I had $5 in my tin now, enough for a bus ticket to Atlanta. But I was pregnant, 13, and scared. Could I really run? The next day, my mother gave me a small bag with her old coat and some bread. "Go to the bus station tonight," she whispered while my father was at work. "There's a bus at midnight. Get to Atlanta. Find a church, a shelter, anything." Her eyes were red, but her voice was firm. "What about you?" I asked, my heart breaking. She shook her head. "I'll be okay. You need to save yourself. And the baby." The baby. I hadn't let myself think about it, but now it was real. A life inside me because of James. I hated it, but it was mine. I hugged her tight. "I love you, Mama," I said. She kissed my forehead. "I love you too. Be brave, Emma." I hid the bag under my bed, waiting for night. But as the sun set, James came home early. He stood in my doorway, his eyes dark. "Heard you've been talking, Emma," he said, his voice low. "You're not going anywhere." My heart stopped. He knew. Someone had told him. I was trapped, and the worst was yet to come. James's words echoed in my head as he stood in my doorway, his eyes dark and cold. "You're not going anywhere," he said, and my heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst. I was 13, pregnant, and trapped in a house where my brother's shadow swallowed me whole. My bag was hidden under the bed, packed with my mother's coat and $5 for a bus ticket to Atlanta. But James knew I was planning to run. Someone had betrayed me, and I didn't know who. I gripped the edge of my blanket, my voice shaking. "I'm not doing anything, James," I lied, trying to sound calm. He stepped closer, his boots heavy on the floor. "Don't play dumb, Emma," he said, his voice low. "I heard you talking to Mama. You think you can leave me?" His words made my skin crawl. Leave him? He acted like I belonged to him, like I was his property. I wanted to scream, but my father's belt marks still stung on my shoulder. "I just want to sleep," I said, my eyes on the floor. He smirked. "Good. Stay quiet, or you'll regret it." He left, but I heard him lock the door from the outside. My heart sank. I was a prisoner in my own room. I sat on my bed, my hands shaking as I clutched my bag. The midnight bus to Atlanta was my only hope, but how could I get out? The window was too small, and James was downstairs, laughing with my father like nothing was wrong. I thought of my mother, her face bruised from trying to protect me. She'd told me to run, but now I wondered if she'd told James my plan. No, she wouldn't. She loved me, but someone had, maybe a neighbor who overheard us. My mind raced, picturing Mrs. Carter or even Sarah's mother, who sometimes talked to my father. I felt betrayed, alone, and the baby inside me made it all heavier. I touched my stomach, scared of what it meant. A baby from James. I hated it, but it was part of me. I whispered to it, "I'll keep you safe," even though I didn't know how. Hours passed, the house growing quiet. I heard my father's snores from the living room, the creak of James's footsteps downstairs. I had to try. I grabbed a hairpin from my dresser and knelt by the door, my hands trembling as I worked the lock. I'd seen James do it before, picking locks to get to me. It took forever, my fingers slipping, but finally the lock clicked. I froze, listening. No footsteps. I opened the door, my bag slung over my shoulder, and tiptoed down the hall. The stairs creaked, and I stopped, my heart in my throat. "Who's there?" James's voice came from the kitchen. I ducked into the bathroom, closing the door just as his boots hit the stairs. "Emma," he called, his voice sharp. I held my breath, praying he'd go back. He didn't. The doorknob rattled. "Open the door, Emma," he shouted. I backed against the wall, my eyes darting to the tiny window above the sink. It was my only chance. I climbed onto the sink, my hands shaking as I pushed the window open. It was tight, but I was small. I threw my bag out first, hearing it thud in the grass. "Emma, I know you're in there." James banged on the door, the wood cracking. I squeezed through the window, scraping my arms, and fell into the backyard. My heart raced as I grabbed my bag and ran toward the woods behind our house. The bus station was a mile away, and it was almost midnight. I heard James yell from inside, "She's gone." My father's voice followed, roaring, "Find her." I ran faster, branches scratching my face, my breath loud in my ears. The woods were dark, but I knew them from playing as a kid. I stumbled, my stomach aching, but I kept going. I had to make that bus. I reached the edge of town, the bus station's lights glowing in the distance. My legs burned, but I felt a spark of hope. I was almost free. But then I heard footsteps behind me. "Emma, stop." It was my mother. I turned, shocked, seeing her running toward me, her face pale in the moonlight. "Mama." I gasped, stopping. She caught up, grabbing my hands. "I'm coming with you," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I can't let you go alone." My heart swelled, but then I saw fear in her eyes. "They're coming," she said. "James and your father. They know you're headed here." My stomach dropped. "How?" I asked. She looked away, tears falling. "I told Mrs. Carter to get help, but she told your father instead." "I'm so sorry, Emma." Betrayal hit me like a punch, but I didn't have time to feel it. Headlights flashed down the road, my father's truck. "Run," my mother said, pushing me toward the station. We sprinted, my bag bouncing against my back. The bus was there, its engine rumbling. I could see the driver inside, checking his watch. Wait! I shouted, waving my arms. My mother grabbed my hand, pulling me faster. We'll make it, she said, her voice desperate. But the truck was closer, its lights blinding. I heard my father yell, "Clara, you traitor!" My mother froze, her grip tightening. "Keep going, Emma," she said, her voice breaking. "I'll stop them." I shook my head, tears streaming. "No, Mama, come with me." She pushed me toward the bus. "Save yourself. For the baby." Before I could argue, she turned and ran back toward the truck, waving her arms to distract them. "Henry, stop," she shouted. I heard James's voice, cold and angry. "You're helping her?" I stumbled to the bus, banging on the door. The driver opened it, frowning. "Ticket?" he asked. I fumbled in my bag, pulling out my $5. "Please, I need to get to Atlanta," I begged, my voice shaking. He looked at me, then at the truck screeching to a stop. "Get in," he said, taking my money. I climbed on, my heart breaking as I looked out the window. My mother was standing in front of the truck, her arms out, yelling at my father. James was beside him, his face twisted with rage. The bus pulled away, and I pressed my face to the glass, sobbing. "Mama," I whispered, watching her grow smaller. I didn't know if she'd be okay, if my father would hurt her, or if James would come after me. I was free, but at what cost? The bus rumbled through the night, and I curled up in my seat, my hands on my stomach. The other passengers were quiet, some sleeping, some staring out windows. I felt alone, but the baby inside me was a reminder I wasn't. I didn't know how I'd survive in Atlanta, pregnant at 13, with no money and no one to help. But I thought of my mother's words. "Be brave, Emma." I had to be. For her. For the baby. For me. As the bus crossed into the city, the lights bright and strange, I felt a mix of fear and hope. But then I heard a noise, a car engine, loud and close. I looked out the back window and saw headlights following us. My heart stopped. It was my father's truck. They weren't giving up. The bus rumbled through the night, and I sat frozen, staring at the headlights of my father's truck tailing us. My heart pounded as I clutched my bag, my mother's old coat inside it like a piece of her I could still hold. I was 13, pregnant, and alone, heading to Atlanta with no plan. Only fear and a spark of hope. My mother's sacrifice, standing in front of that truck, yelling to stop my father and James, played over in my mind. I could still see her, arms outstretched, her voice breaking as she told me to run. Would she be okay? Would my father hurt her? The thought made my chest ache, but the headlights behind us kept my fear sharp. They were coming for me. I leaned toward the window, whispering to my unborn baby, "We'll make it. I promise." But I wasn't sure I believed it. The bus driver glanced at me through his mirror. "You okay, kid?" he asked, his voice gruff but kind. I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. "That truck's been following us for miles," he said, frowning. "You know them?" My heart skipped. "No," I lied, my voice shaking. "Just keep going, please." He raised an eyebrow but nodded. "We're almost at Atlanta. Hold tight." I sank back in my seat, my hands trembling. The other passengers were quiet, some asleep, others staring into the dark. I felt eyes on me, a woman across the aisle, older, with gray hair and soft eyes. "You running from something, honey?" she asked, her voice low. I froze. Could I trust her? "Just starting over," I said, looking away. She nodded, like she understood. "Atlanta's a big place. You'll find your way." Her words were kind, but they didn't ease the fear in my gut. The truck was still there, its headlights like eyes in the night. Suddenly, the bus slowed, pulling onto the shoulder. I gasped, gripping my seat. "What's happening?" I whispered. The driver stood, turning to the passengers. "Flat tire," he said. "Gonna take a bit to fix. Stay put." My heart sank. A flat tire? Now. I looked out the back window, and the truck stopped too, maybe 100 yards back. I saw two figures get out, my father and James. My breath caught. They were coming. I grabbed my bag, my mind racing. I had to hide. The older woman watched me, her eyes narrow. "You in trouble, aren't you?" she said. I nodded, tears spilling. "My father, my brother, they're after me." Her face hardened. "Stay low," she whispered, pointing to the floor. Get under the seat. I slid down, curling up, my bag pressed to my chest. My stomach ached, the baby heavy inside me. I heard boots crunching outside, then my father's voice, loud and angry. Where's the girl? He shouted at the driver. Young brown hair about 13? The driver's voice was calm. Lots of folks on this bus, sir. What's she to you? My father growled. My daughter. She ran off. Hand her over. I held my breath, shaking. James spoke next, his voice smooth. She's in trouble, sir. We just want her safe. Safe. I wanted to scream. They were the danger. The older woman leaned over her seat, her voice loud. You two causing a scene out there? She called. Leave this driver alone. I heard murmurs from other passengers, some agreeing. My father cursed, but the driver spoke up. No girl like that here. Move along, or I'm calling the cops. My heart lifted, but then James said, check the bus, Dad. She's here. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying. The driver refused. No one's searching my bus without a warrant, he said. Get back in your truck. I heard my father argue, his voice rising, but then sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have called the police. The truck's engine roared, and the headlights faded as they sped off. I stayed under the seat, trembling, until the older woman touched my shoulder. They're gone, honey, she said. I crawled out, tears streaming. Thank you, I whispered. She nodded. I've seen girls like you before. You're stronger than you know. Her name was Mrs. Ellen, she told me, a retired nurse heading to visit her son in Atlanta. Stick with me when we get there, she said. I know a place you can stay. I nodded, grateful but scared. Could I trust her? I had no choice. The bus started moving again, and I watched the road, half expecting the truck to reappear. When we reached Atlanta, the city lights were overwhelming, bright and busy compared to Millhaven's quiet streets. Mrs. Ellen led me off the bus, her hand firm on my arm. There's a women's shelter I know, she said. They help girls like you. I hesitated. What kind of girls? I asked, my voice small. She looked at me, her eyes soft. Girls who need a fresh start. No questions asked. I nodded, my heart heavy with thoughts of my mother. Had she made it home? Was she safe? I wanted to call her, but I had no money, no number. I felt like I'd abandoned her. Mrs. Ellen took me to a small building with a sign that read, Hope House. A woman at the desk, Miss Grace, smiled warmly. Welcome, sweetheart, she said. You're safe here. I started crying, the weight of everything hitting me. I'm pregnant, I blurted, my voice breaking. And I'm only 13. Miss Grace's face didn't change. We'll take care of you, she said, guiding me to a chair. You're not alone anymore. They gave me a bed, a hot meal, and a doctor's visit the next day. The doctor, a kind woman named Dr. Susan, confirmed I was 3 months pregnant. You're healthy, she said. But you need rest and food. Can you do that? I nodded, but my mind was on my mother. I asked Miss Grace if I could call home. She gave me a quarter for the payphone. I dialed our number, my hands shaking. My mother answered, her voice weak. Emma, she whispered. Mama. I cried. Are you okay? There was a pause. I'm alive, she said. Your father's angry. James told him you lied about everything. He hit me, but I'm okay. My heart broke. I'm sorry I left you, I said, sobbing. She cut me off. No, Emma. You did right. Stay away. Don't come back. I heard a noise in the background, my father's voice. Who's that? He shouted. The line went dead. I stood there, the phone in my hand, tears falling. Had I lost her forever? That night, I lay in my bed at Hope House, staring at the ceiling. Mrs. Ellen checked on me. You did good getting here, she said. But you gotta keep fighting. I nodded, my hands on my stomach. The baby was my reason now, but I couldn't shake the fear. My father and James had given up for now, but what if they found me? Atlanta was big, but not big enough to hide forever. And then there was the baby. Could I raise it alone? I didn't know how, but I knew I had to try. As I drifted to sleep, I heard a knock on the shelter's door. My heart stopped. Voices outside, low and urgent. Miss Grace's voice came through the wall. No men allowed after hours, she said. Come back tomorrow. A man's voice answered, too quiet to hear. Was it James? My father? I pulled the blanket over my head, my body shaking. I'd escaped, but the danger wasn't gone. I lay in my bed at Hope House, the blanket pulled over my head, my heart racing from the knock at the shelter's door. The man's voice outside, low and urgent, echoed in my mind. Was it James? My father? I was 13, pregnant, and barely free from Millhaven's grip, but the fear followed me to Atlanta. Miss Grace's firm words, no men allowed after hours, gave me a moment of relief, but I couldn't shake the feeling that danger was close. Juno, the shelter's night worker, whispered through the door, they're gone. Come back in the morning. The knocking stopped, and I heard footsteps fading. I sat up, my hands shaking, listening. Silence. But sleep wouldn't come. I kept seeing my mother's face, standing in front of my father's truck, sacrificing herself so I could escape. Was she safe? And who was at the door? Morning came, gray and quiet through the shelter's window. I got up, my body aching from the bus ride and the weight of the baby inside me. Miss Grace knocked softly. Emma, breakfast is ready, she said, her voice kind. I nodded, pulling on my mother's coat. Downstairs, the dining room was full of women, some young, some older, all carrying their own stories. Mrs. Ellen, the woman from the bus, sat across from me eating eggs. You sleep okay? She asked, her eyes gentle. I shook my head. Heard someone at the door last night. I said, my voice low. Her fork stopped. You think it was them? I shrugged, my throat tight. I don't know. She reached for my hand. You're safe here, Emma. This place is a fortress. I wanted to believe her, but my heart wouldn't settle. After breakfast, Miss Grace took me to a small office. We need to talk about your situation, she said, sitting me down. You're pregnant and you're young. We can help you, but you need to decide what you want. My hands shook on my lap. I don't know, I said. I just want to keep my baby safe. She nodded. We have a doctor coming today. And a counselor. They'll help you figure things out. I nodded, tears burning my eyes. Can I call my mama? I asked. She handed me a phone. Of course. I dialed, my heart pounding. No answer. I tried again, my stomach twisting. Nothing. She's probably at work, I said, more to myself. Miss Grace squeezed my shoulder. Keep trying, sweetheart. That afternoon, the counselor, Miss Laura, sat with me. She was young, with a soft voice. Emma, you've been through a lot, she said. You don't have to tell me everything, but I'm here to listen. I stared at the floor, the words spilling out. My brother. He did this to me, I said, touching my stomach. My father hit me when I told. My mama helped me run, but now I don't know if she's okay. My voice broke. Laura leaned forward. You're so brave, Emma. You got out. That's huge. I shook my head. I left her behind, I said, crying. She handed me a tissue. Your mother wanted you to be safe. You're honoring her by being here. Her words hit deep, but the guilt stayed. Later, I went to the phone again, my hands shaking as I dialed. This time my mother answered, her voice faint. Emma, she said. Mama, you're okay. I cried, relief flooding me. She coughed, weak. I'm sick, honey. Your father. He's been drinking a lot. James is gone looking for you. My blood ran cold. Looking for me? I whispered. She paused. He's in Atlanta. I heard him tell your father. Be careful, Emma. I gripped the phone, my heart racing. Where are you? She asked. I hesitated. A shelter. Hope House. It's safe. She sighed. Good. Stay there. Don't tell anyone where you are. I heard my father's voice in the background, angry. Clara, who's that? The line went dead. I stood there, frozen, tears falling. James was here. I told Miss Grace, my voice shaking. My brother's in Atlanta. He's looking for me. Her face hardened. No one gets in here without permission, she said. But we'll call the police just in case. She dialed, speaking quickly, describing James. I sat, my hands on my stomach, feeling the baby move for the first time. A tiny flutter, like a promise. I whispered, I'll protect you. But fear clawed at me. What if James found me? What if he hurt my baby? That evening, a police officer came, a tall man named Officer Daniels. We're looking for your brother, he said. Got a description, tall blue eyes, about 18? I nodded, my throat tight. That's him. He wrote it down. We'll patrol the area. You stay here, okay? I nodded, but my mind was spinning. James was close. I could feel it. Mrs. Ellen sat with me, her voice firm. You're not alone anymore, Emma. We've got your back. I wanted to believe her, but the fear wouldn't leave. That night, I couldn't sleep. The shelter was quiet, but every sound made me jump. Around midnight, I heard a noise outside. A low thud, like something falling. I crept to the window, my heart pounding. In the shadows, I saw a figure moving near the fence. Tall, broad shoulders. James. My breath caught. He was holding something, a crowbar. He was trying to break in. I ran to Miss Grace's room, banging on her door. He's here, I whispered, shaking. She grabbed her phone, calling the police. Stay here, she said, locking the door. I heard sirens in the distance, and the figure ran, disappearing into the dark. The police searched but found nothing. He's gone for now, Officer Daniels said. But we'll keep watch. I nodded, my body trembling. I wasn't safe yet. The next morning, Miss Grace pulled me aside. Emma, we're moving you, she said. A new shelter, a secret one. Just to be safe. My heart sank. Move again? I asked, my voice breaking. She nodded. We'll keep you hidden. James won't find you. I nodded, tears falling. I thought of my mother, alone with my father. I thought of the baby, depending on me. I had to keep going. But as we packed my things, Miss Grace's phone rang. Her face went pale. Emma, stay here, she said, stepping outside. I heard her whisper. They found a truck nearby. Matches your father's. My stomach dropped. My father was here too. They weren't giving up. Miss Grace's words hit me like a punch to the gut. My father's truck was nearby, parked somewhere in Atlanta's shadows, and James had tried to break into Hope House with a crowbar. I was 13, pregnant, and running out of places to hide. My hands shook as I packed my small bag, the weight of my mother's coat inside it heavier than ever. I kept thinking of her voice on the phone, weak and scared, telling me James was coming for me. Now my father was here too. I felt like a hunted animal, my heart racing with every sound outside the shelter. Miss Grace locked her office door, her face tight. We're moving you now, Emma, she said, her voice low. The new shelter's safe. No one knows where it is. I nodded, tears burning my eyes. What if they find me? I whispered. She knelt beside me, her hand on my shoulder. They won't. I promise. But promises felt fragile, like glass ready to shatter. Mrs. Ellen helped me gather my things, her eyes fierce. You're a fighter, Emma, she said, handing me a scarf to cover my hair. They can't take that from you. I wanted to believe her, but fear clawed at me. I thought of my baby, the tiny flutter I'd felt, and my mother, alone with my father's anger. I couldn't call her again. Miss Grace said it wasn't safe, not with them so close. As we waited for the van to take me to the new shelter, I sat by the window, my hands on my stomach. The baby moved again, a soft kick, and I whispered, "We'll be okay." But my voice shook. Outside, the street was quiet, but I kept seeing James's face, his cold blue eyes, and my father's fists, ready to drag me back to Millhaven. The van arrived after dark, driven by a woman named Miss Diane, who worked with the shelters. "Get in quick," she said, her voice calm but urgent. I climbed in, Mrs. Ellen beside me, her hand on mine. Miss Grace stayed behind, promising to call the police if anyone came. As we drove through Atlanta's busy streets, I kept looking back, expecting my father's truck. "Where are we going?" I asked, my voice small. Miss Diane glanced at me in the mirror. "A safe house, Emma. It's hidden out in the suburbs. You'll like it there." I nodded, but my heart was heavy. I was leaving Hope House, the first place that felt safe, and I didn't know if I could trust this new place. Halfway there, the van's engine sputtered, and we slowed. My heart stopped. "What's wrong?" I asked, gripping Mrs. Ellen's hand. Miss Diane cursed under her breath. "Engine trouble," she said, pulling over. "I'll check it." She got out, lifting the hood, and I felt panic rising. We were on a quiet road, trees on both sides, no streetlights. Mrs. Ellen squeezed my hand. "Stay calm, Emma," she said. "We're almost there." But then I saw headlights in the distance, coming fast. My stomach dropped. "It's them," I whispered, my voice shaking. Mrs. Ellen looked back, her face pale. "Hide," she said, pushing me down behind the seat. I curled up, my bag pressed to my chest, my breath loud in my ears. The headlights stopped, and I heard a car door slam. My father's voice boomed. "Where's my daughter?" My blood ran cold. Miss Diane's voice was steady. "No one's here but me, sir. Car trouble. Move along." I heard footsteps, heavy and close. James spoke, his voice smooth. "We know she's in there. Hand her over, and no one gets hurt." I bit my lip, tears streaming. They'd followed us. "How?" Mrs. Ellen whispered. "Stay down, Emma. Don't move." I nodded, shaking. Miss Diane laughed, sharp and bold. "You think you scare me? Get lost, or I'm calling the cops." I heard a click like a gun, and my heart stopped. "Open the van," my father growled. I wanted to scream, but fear kept me silent. Mrs. Ellen moved fast, pulling a phone from her bag. She dialed, whispering, "Police now. We're on Old Mill Road, van broken down, 2 men threatening us." I heard the operator's voice, faint but clear. "Units on the way." My father banged on the van door. "Emma, I know you're in there," he shouted. "Come out or I'll break this door down." Miss Diane yelled back, "You're not touching anyone." I heard a scuffle, then a scream, Miss Diane's. My heart raced. Were they hurting her? Mrs. Ellen grabbed my arm. "If they open the door, run," she whispered. "Into the woods. Don't look back." I shook my head, tears falling. "I can't leave you," I said. She smiled, her eyes fierce. "You're not leaving me. You're saving yourself." Before they could open the door, sirens wailed, loud and close. My father cursed, and I heard James say, "Let's go, Dad." The car roared away, headlights fading. I sat up, sobbing, as Mrs. Ellen hugged me. "It's okay, Emma," she said. "They're gone." Miss Diane climbed back in, her face bruised but smiling. "Tough old buzzards, aren't they?" she said, winking. I cried harder, grateful but scared. The police arrived, 2 officers asking questions. "They got away," one said, frowning. "But we'll keep looking." Miss Diane fixed the van. It was just a loose wire, and we drove on, my heart still racing. I kept seeing Miss Diane's bruise, Mrs. Ellen's fierce eyes, and hearing my father's voice. They weren't giving up. We reached the new shelter, a small house hidden in a quiet neighborhood. The woman in charge, Miss Ruth, greeted me with a warm hug. "You're safe here, Emma," she said. "No one knows this place." I nodded, but my mind was on my mother. I asked to use the phone, and Miss Ruth handed it to me. I dialed, praying. No answer. I tried again, my hands shaking. Finally, my mother picked up, her voice barely a whisper. "Emma," she said. "Mama." I cried. "They found me, but I'm safe now. Are you okay?" She coughed, weak. "Your father's out looking for you. He's worse now. Stay hidden, Emma." I heard a crash in the background, then my father's voice slurred. "Clara, get off that phone." The line went dead. I sank to the floor, sobbing. Was he hurting her? Was it my fault? Miss Ruth sat with me, her hand on my back. "You're carrying a lot, sweetheart," she said. "But you're not alone." I nodded, tears falling. "I just want my mama safe," I said. She nodded. "We'll try to help her. But right now you need to focus on you and your baby." I touched my stomach, feeling another kick. The baby was growing, and so was my fear. That night, I lay in my new bed, the house quiet. Miss Ruth had locked every door, and a police car patrolled outside. I should have felt safe, but I didn't. I kept hearing my father's voice, James's threats. And then as I drifted off, I heard a noise, a soft tap at the window. My eyes snapped open. Someone was outside, their shadow moving in the moonlight. My heart stopped. They'd found me again. The shadow at the window made my heart stop. I was 13, pregnant, lying in a bed at the new shelter, a hidden house in Atlanta's suburbs. The moonlight showed a figure outside, tapping softly, and I froze, my breath shallow. Was it James? My father? They'd tracked me from Millhaven, through Hope House, and now here. I pulled the blanket tight, my hands shaking, remembering Miss Ruth's words. You're safe here, Emma. But safety felt like a lie. I wanted to scream, but fear kept me quiet. The tapping stopped, and the shadow moved away. I lay still, listening, my heart pounding. Minutes passed silent, but I couldn't relax. I kept seeing my mother's face, bruised and scared, her voice on the phone begging me to stay hidden. I had to keep going, for her, for my baby. Morning came, and sunlight spilled through the window, but I felt no peace. I got up, my body heavy, and found Miss Ruth in the kitchen making coffee. Miss Ruth, I said, my voice shaky. Someone was at my window last night. She turned, her face serious. You sure, Emma? She asked, setting down her mug. I nodded. I saw a shadow. They tapped on the glass. She frowned, stepping closer. Why didn't you call me? I looked down, ashamed. I was too scared. She sighed, touching my arm. You're safe here, but I'll check the yard. And I'm calling Officer Daniels. I nodded, my throat tight. What if it's my brother? Or my dad? I asked. She met my eyes. They won't get in. This place is locked tight. But we're not taking chances. Her words helped, but fear lingered like a cold weight. At breakfast, I sat with two other girls, Lily and Anna, both a bit older. Lily, with short black hair, noticed my quietness. You okay, Emma? She asked, passing me toast. I shook my head, my voice low. Someone was outside my room last night. I think my family's after me. Anna's eyes widened. Your family, she said. Why? I hesitated, then whispered. My brother, he hurt me. I'm pregnant because of him. My dad wants me back to punish me. Lily's hand froze on her cup. That's awful, she said. But you're here now. They can't touch you. Anna nodded. I ran from my stepdad, she said. This place saved me. Trust Miss Ruth. Their words warmed me, like a small light in the dark. I wasn't alone. Miss Ruth came back, her face tense. Emma, I found footprints outside your window, she said, keeping her voice low. My heart sank. Footprints? I asked, my voice breaking. She nodded. Men's boots. I called the police. They're coming. I felt sick, my hands on my stomach. It's them, I said. They won't stop. Miss Ruth sat beside me. Listen, Emma. We're moving you again, just to be safe. A friend's house, not a shelter. No one will know. I shook my head, tears falling. I'm tired of running, I said. She hugged me. I know, sweetheart. But you're strong. You're fighting for your baby. I nodded, wiping my eyes. Can I call my mama first? I asked. She handed me the phone. Make it quick. I dialed, my hands shaking. My mother answered, her voice weak. Emma, she said. Mama. I cried. They found me again. I'm moving somewhere new. She coughed, her voice faint. Oh honey, I'm so sorry. Your father, he's worse now. James is with him. They're both in Atlanta. My stomach twisted. Are you okay? I asked. She paused. He hit me again, but I'm alive. You stay hidden, Emma. Don't let them find you. I heard my father in the background shouting, Clara, who's on that phone? She whispered, I love you. And the line went dead. I sank into a chair, sobbing. She's not safe, I said to Miss Ruth. She knelt beside me. We'll try to help her, Emma. But you need to stay safe first. I nodded, my heart breaking. Officer Daniels arrived, his notepad out. Footprints match a man's size 10, he said. We're patrolling, but they're slippery. Any idea where they might go? I shook my head. They want me back, I said. They'll keep looking. He nodded, serious. We're watching bus stations, motels. You're moving today, right? Miss Ruth nodded. This afternoon. A private house. He looked at me. Stay strong, Emma. We're on your side. I forced a smile, but inside, I was crumbling. James and my father were like ghosts, always one step behind me. That afternoon, Miss Ruth drove me to the new place, a small house owned by her friend, Miss Clara, no relation to my mother. Miss Clara was older, with gray curls and a warm smile. "Welcome, Emma," she said, hugging me. "Your family now." Her house was cozy, with flowers on the table and a locked gate. "No one knows you're here," Miss Ruth said, handing me a key. "Not even the shelter staff." I nodded, my hands on my stomach. "Thank you," I said, my voice soft. Miss Clara sat me down. "You're carrying a child," she said. "That's a big thing. You need rest, food, and peace. Can you try?" I nodded, tears falling. "I'll try," I said. She smiled. "Good girl. We'll get you through this." That night, I sat in my new room, a small space with a quilt on the bed. I felt the baby kick, stronger now, and whispered, "We're safe, little one." But as I turned off the light, I heard a car outside, its engine idling. My heart raced. I crept to the window, peeking through the curtain. A truck sat across the street, too dark to see inside. Was it my father's? I backed away, my breath shaky. I wanted to call Miss Clara, but she was asleep. I grabbed the phone and dialed Miss Ruth, whispering, "There's a truck outside." She answered fast. "Stay calm, Emma," she said. "I'm calling the police. Lock your door." I did, my hands trembling. "What if it's them?" I asked. She paused. "We won't let them near you. Hide under the bed, just in case." I crawled under, my heart pounding, the phone still in my hand. Minutes later, I heard sirens, and the truck's engine roared away. Miss Ruth's voice came through the phone. "Police chased it off," she said. "They didn't get a plate, but you're safe." I crawled out, shaking. "They keep finding me," I said, crying. Miss Ruth's voice was firm. "We're smarter than they are, Emma. You're not going back." I nodded, even though she couldn't see. Miss Clara knocked, her voice soft. "Emma, you okay?" I opened the door, falling into her arms. "I'm so scared," I said, sobbing. She held me tight. "You're not alone, child. We're your family now." Her words were warm, but as I lay back down, I couldn't shake the feeling that James and my father were closer than ever, waiting for their chance. I sat in Miss Clara's guest room, my heart still racing from the truck that had idled outside, its engine roaring away when the police came. I was 13, pregnant, and hiding in a secret house in Atlanta, but my father and James were like shadows, always close. Miss Clara's arms around me felt safe, but her words, "We're your family now," couldn't erase the fear. I kept thinking of my mother, alone in Millhaven, her voice weak on the phone, telling me to stay hidden. I'd escaped, but at what cost? The baby kicked inside me, a reminder of why I had to keep fighting. I whispered, "We're almost there, little one." But the words felt hollow. As morning light crept through the curtains, I wondered if I'd ever be free. Miss Clara made breakfast, her kitchen warm with the smell of pancakes. She sat across from me, her eyes kind. "You sleep at all, Emma?" she asked, pouring syrup. I shook my head, poking at my food. "That truck, it scared me," I said, my voice low. She nodded, her face tight. "Police didn't catch them, but they're watching. You're safe here." I wanted to believe her, but my hands shook. "What if they come back?" I asked, my voice firm. Shay leaned in, her voice firm. "They'd have to get through me first," she said. "And I'm not letting anyone hurt you." Her strength made me feel stronger, but the fear lingered. I touched my stomach, feeling the baby move. "I just want this to be over," I whispered. Miss Clara squeezed my hand. "It will be, child. You're tougher than they are." After breakfast, Miss Ruth called, her voice urgent. "Emma, we're adding more security," she said. "Cameras, a guard at night. No one's getting near you." I gripped the phone. "Did the police find the truck?" I asked. She paused. "Not yet, but they're looking. Stay with Miss Clara. Don't go outside." I nodded, even though she couldn't see. "Can I call my mama?" I asked, my voice breaking. Miss Ruth sighed. "It's risky, Emma. Your father might be watching her phone. But one quick call." I thanked her, my heart pounding as I dialed. No answer. I tried again, tears burning. Finally, my mother picked up, her voice barely audible. "Emma," she whispered. "Mama." I cried. "Are you okay?" She coughed, weak. "I'm sick, honey. Your father's out again with James. They're planning something." My stomach twisted. Planning what? I asked. She hesitated. They know you're in Atlanta. They're asking around. Be careful. I heard a door slam in the background, and she gasped. I have to go, she said, and the line went dead. I sank to the floor, sobbing. She's not safe, I said to Miss Clara, who knelt beside me. This is my fault. She shook her head. No, Emma. They're the ones hurting her. You're saving yourself. Midday, Officer Daniels came by, his face serious. Emma, we found your father's truck abandoned near a motel, he said. No sign of him or your brother. My heart sank. Abandoned? I asked, my voice shaking. He nodded. They're on foot now, or they got another car. We're checking motels, but Atlanta's big. Miss Clara crossed her arms. What's your plan, officer? She asked. He sighed. More patrols, and we're talking to shelters, bus stations. Emma, you seen anyone strange around here? I thought of the shadow at the window, the truck. Just last night, I said. Someone was outside. His eyes narrowed. We'll check the cameras. Stay inside, okay? I nodded, fear clawing at me. What if they find me? I asked. He met my eyes. We're doing everything we can. You're a brave kid. His words didn't ease the panic. That afternoon, Miss Clara took me to meet Dr. Susan, who'd checked me at Hope House. She came to the house, her bag full of medical tools. Let's see how you're doing, Emma, she said, smiling. I lay on the couch, nervous, as she checked my belly. Baby's growing strong, she said, her voice warm. You're about 5 months now. I touched my stomach, tears falling. Will it be okay? I asked. She nodded. With rest and food, yes. But you need to stay calm. Stress isn't good. I laughed, bitter. Calm? My family's hunting me. Her face softened. I know, Emma. But you're not alone. We're all here. I nodded, grateful but scared. What if I can't do this? I asked, my voice small. She squeezed my hand. You can. You're already doing it. That evening, Miss Clara's neighbor, Mr. Thomas, came by. He was old, with a limp, but his eyes were sharp. Heard about your trouble, Emma, he said, sitting on the porch. I'm keeping watch. Anyone comes near, I'll know. I forced a smile. Thank you, I said. He nodded. You remind me of my daughter. She got out of a bad spot too. You'll make it. His words stayed with me, a small spark of hope. But as night fell, that hope faded. I was in my room, reading a book Miss Clara gave me, when the phone rang. Miss Clara answered, her voice low. She came to my door, her face pale. Emma, it's Officer Daniels, she said, handing me the phone. My heart raced. Hello, I said, my voice shaking. His voice was grim. Emma, we found your mother. She's in the hospital in Millhaven. Your father, he hurt her bad. My world stopped. Is she okay? I asked, tears streaming. He paused. She's alive, but it's serious. We're looking for your father now. I dropped the phone, sobbing. Mama, I whispered. Miss Clara held me, her voice soft. We'll get you to her, Emma, she said. But we have to be careful. I shook my head, my voice breaking. This is my fault. If I hadn't run. She cut me off. Stop that. You ran to save your life. Your mama wanted that. I nodded, but guilt crushed me. I need to see her, I said. Miss Ruth arrived, her face tense. Emma, it's not safe, she said. Your father's on the run. James too. They might be watching the hospital. I stood, my hands shaking. I don't care, I said. She's my mama. Miss Clara and Miss Ruth exchanged looks. We'll figure it out, Miss Clara said. But we need a plan. As we talked, Mr. Thomas banged on the door, his voice loud. Clara, come quick, he shouted. We ran to the porch, my heart pounding. He pointed across the street. Saw a man in the bushes watching the house, he said. Ran off when I yelled. My blood ran cold. Was it James? I asked, my voice shaking. Mr. Thomas frowned. Couldn't see his face, but he was tall, young. Had a hood on. Miss Ruth grabbed her phone. I'm calling the police, she said. I backed into the house, my hands on my stomach. They're here, I whispered. Miss Clara locked the door, her voice firm. No one's getting in, Emma. Stay strong. But as the police sirens grew closer, I felt a sharp pain in my belly, like a knife. I gasped, falling to my knees. Something's wrong, I said, my voice weak. Miss Clara knelt beside me, her eyes wide. Hold on, Emma, she said, calling for help. The world blurred, and I thought of my mother, my baby, and the man in the bushes, waiting to take it all away. The pain in my belly was sharp, like a blade twisting inside me, as I fell to my knees in Miss Clara's living room. I was 13, pregnant, and terrified, the man in the bushes outside a reminder that my father and James were still hunting me. Miss Clara's voice cut through my panic. Emma, breathe, she said, her hands steadying me. We're getting help. My vision blurred, tears streaming as I clutched my stomach. My baby, I whispered, my voice weak. Miss Ruth was on the phone shouting, ambulance now. She's pregnant, 13, in pain. Mr. Thomas stood by the door, his face grim. Police are here, he said, pointing outside. They're searching for that guy. I felt the baby kick, faint but there, and prayed it was okay. Miss Clara held my hand, her voice soft. You're strong, Emma. Hold on. The ambulance came fast, its siren loud in the quiet night. Paramedics rushed in, a woman named Sarah kneeling beside me. Emma, can you tell me where it hurts? She asked, her voice calm. I pointed to my belly, gasping. Right here. It's bad. She nodded, checking my pulse. We're taking you to the hospital. You'll be okay. I shook my head, tears falling. My mama's there in Millhaven. My dad, he hurt her. What if he's here too? Sarah's eyes softened. We'll keep you safe, honey. Let's go. Miss Clara climbed in with me, holding my hand as the ambulance sped through Atlanta's streets. I'm not leaving you, she said, her voice firm. I nodded, grateful but scared. The pain eased a little, but my heart raced. Was my baby okay? Was my mother alive? At the hospital, Dr. Susan met us, her face serious but kind. Emma, we're doing an ultrasound, she said, wheeling me into a room. I lay on the bed, my hands shaking as she moved the wand over my belly. Miss Clara stood by me, whispering, You're doing great. The screen showed a tiny shape moving. Dr. Susan smiled. Your baby's fine, Emma. The pain was from stress and dehydration. You need rest, fluids, and no more running. I cried, relief flooding me. It's okay. I asked, my voice breaking. She nodded. Strong like you. I touched my stomach, whispering, Thank you. But then I thought of my mother. My mama's in a hospital too, I said. Can I see her? Dr. Susan frowned. Let's focus on you first. We'll check on her. Miss Ruth arrived, her face tense. Emma, I called Millhaven, she said. Your mother's stable, but she's weak. Your father's in custody. He was caught near the hospital, drunk, yelling about you. My heart lifted, then sank. In custody? I asked, my voice small. She nodded. Police got him last night. James is still out there, but they're closing in. I nodded, tears falling. Can I talk to Mama? I asked. Miss Ruth handed me a phone, dialing. My mother answered, her voice faint. Emma, she said. Mama. I cried, sobbing. You're okay. She coughed, weak. I'm here, honey. Your father, he's gone now. I'm so proud of you. I shook my head, my voice breaking. I left you, Mama. I'm sorry. She cut me off. No, Emma. You saved yourself. That's what I wanted. I heard her cry soft. I love you, she said. Stay safe. The call ended, and I felt a weight lift, but James was still out there. That night, I stayed in the hospital, Miss Clara by my side. She held my hand, her voice soft. You're a miracle, Emma, she said. You got out, and you're keeping that baby safe. I nodded, tears falling. I was so scared, I said. I thought I'd lose everything. She smiled. You didn't. You fought. That's what makes you special. Her words sank deep, like roots in my heart. The next morning, Officer Daniels came, his face calm. Emma, we got James, he said. Caught him at a motel, planning to come for you. My heart stopped. He's gone. I asked, my voice shaking. He nodded. In custody with your father. They're not hurting anyone anymore. I cried, relief washing over me. It's over. I asked. He smiled. For you, yeah. You're free. A week later, I was back at Miss Clara's, my belly growing. My mother was released from the hospital, and Miss Ruth helped her move to Atlanta, to a small apartment near the shelter. I ran to her when I saw her, hugging her tight. Mama, I said, sobbing. She held me, her face thin but smiling. My brave girl, she said. You did it. We cried together, her hands on my belly. This baby's a gift, she said. You'll be a better mother than I was. I shook my head. You saved me, Mama. You're enough. We started over together, with Miss Clara and Miss Ruth helping us. Months later, I gave birth to a girl, Lily, named after the girl at Hope House. She had my eyes, not James's, and I thanked God for that. Holding her, I felt whole, like the pain of my past couldn't touch me anymore. My mother lived with us, her health better, her smile brighter. I went back to school, Miss Clara cheering me on. You'll be a nurse one day, she said, and I believed her. Years passed, and I built a life. Lily grew strong, I got my degree, and my mother became a grandmother, proud and free. My father and James stayed in prison, their shadows gone. Now at 72, I sit on my porch, Lily a mother herself, my grandchildren playing nearby. I tell my story for you, because I know some of you are scared, hiding, thinking no one will believe you. I'm here to say you're enough. You can fight. You can win. The moral of my story? Your voice matters, even when it shakes. Speak it, and you'll find your strength. Please comment below, tell me where you're from. Like this video, subscribe to BraveHer Voices. Every click helps another woman find her courage. I was Emma, broken but never beaten, and today I'm free.